everybody, welcome back to Mel's Board Game Room. I am doing a series called Show Me Your Shelfie, and today I have Arsan as a guest to have a peek at his selfie. Now, we've met, I want to say 2018, 2019 at FallCon.
Yep, sounds right.
It was a long time ago. I've been at one of your game night. Now, it's weird because you don't, I contacted you, say, hey, can I come play games? I was in Edmonton. And you're like, sure, come on over. And then you said something about the Mana Tap House. And I'm like, where am I going? Do they have food? I didn't realize that's your game room.
That's the name of it, the Mana Tap House. It was like when, this was many years ago, but I was like, I wanted to start like a business, like an enterprise, and create like a bar slash board game spot. And
Right.
but at the time it was really popular, and it didn't end up working out, so I ended up just calling my game room the Mana Tap House. So the Mana Tap House lives on in spirit, and like when we do a little bit of the tour, I'll show you like how part of that spirit is maintained.
Sounds great. Yes, because that was a long time ago. A different house as well. You're not in the same place now as when I visited you.
No, that was 2 houses ago.
2 houses ago. So the game room is completely changed. I mean, I have idea of what it looks like because you post a lot of pictures, and I Facebook creep you all the time. But before we get into that, we're just going to talk a little bit about you. Now, you've been on my channel before multiple times. I think the last time we did a live playthrough of the Reckoners.
That's right, the Reckoners.
Yes,
yeah,
it was so good.
At what's that? RPG-a-thon.
RPG-a-thon. That's right. Now you also host your own game event in Edmonton called KefCon, and that's every year. Now, how many years have you been doing that now?
So this year will be the 10th year. So it'll be called, and the name for it will be working title, but likely it's going to be called KefCon X Marks the Spot. So it'll be
I love it.
Yeah, I always have like a little theme or a little like tagline that goes with it. So we'll be celebrating 10 years of when I first started this fun weekend of gaming, as you know. And yeah, it'll be a good one. And it'll be, this year I'm going to challenge myself and challenge kind of how the event looks. And we're going to be doing 4 days of gaming.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we're going to start on Thursday, and then we go till Sunday. So that's going to be
that's a little bit unique with KefCon is you guys tend to play heavier games.
The heaviest of heavy. Well, it's like the unofficial heavy board game convention, which what it's been described by attendees, not like me, but like Euro games, as you can kind of see in the background, are like kind of the games that I really enjoy playing personally and like investing my time into those games. So I thought, oh, well, let's have an event, and we'll kind of have that be a focus of the event, and we'll have 3-hour time slots or 3.5-hour time slots, which it should be plenty of time to resolve those game links. And I was actually just talking about this yesterday with because we were playing games yesterday, and the intention is for people when they come to the table at KefCon to learn the game and walk away with an understanding of the game and appreciation, or maybe they won't like it. So it's never about trying to finish the game or trying to resolve the game. It's that you walk away with understanding that, okay, this game is for me. Or often people who come to KefCon are people who own these games but can't get them to the table, or as you know, like sometimes the rule set is a little bit daunting or challenging for them. So they'll be in a space where somebody who's confident at teaching can teach them that game. And then they'll be like, okay, this game's for me. Or my game is still sealed and now I can sell it because it's awful, or it's not a game for me, right? So that's kind of like the mission statement, if you will, about what KefCon is.
Nice. Yeah, no, I enjoy that. That's kind of a bit unique about that, because some other events it's kind of more like quick filler games, like to have one that's concentrated on those, because I have a lot of heavier games. I have a lot of filler games, but the heavier games don't get it to the table. Like they just don't get to the table with my game group here and my family. So KefCon is a perfect event for that. Now, you're also in the process of starting your own podcast called the First Meeple. So we should be expecting that in the next couple of weeks, the first episode, right?
That is right. The First Meeple podcast. Like I've produced a couple other podcasts in the past for my workplaces. So like the last podcast I did, we did 2 seasons, and it was called the Burning Sage podcast, which you can
Hmm.
to on Spotify and any podcast on streaming platform. And so I take the experience of that, and now like I have all the material or the gear that you need to record a podcast, and I feel I have the experience to be able to confidently produce one and share on the board in terms of like my opinions on board games and talking about board game culture. And yeah, and so like the first, I'll just talk a little bit about the First
Yeah,
Meeple podcast if I can.
please.
So the First Meeple podcast, the idea is for it to look at board gaming through an indigenous led lens. So as an indigenous person myself from Treaty 6, I often find in board game culture I'm kind of like the minority, if you will, right? It's not
Hmm.
as it's rare that I'll sit at a table and like there's a lot of like in native people there, native identifying people there. And in the world of board game, there's a lot of themes of colonization and how indigenous culture is portrayed through board game mechanisms. And I understand that many board games are produced and made and conceived in Europe, right? Which is far removed from like being
True.
in Plains Cree or being in Treaty 6 or Treaty 8 or whatever. And so there's a little bit of tone deafness in terms of representation. And like I'll give you like the most glaring example of that, and that's through a game called Manitoba. Awful game, by the way, awful game.
Oh,
But
okay.
Manitoba, as an example, is in the game. Players control what are called Crees, which is hilarious to me because imagine being somebody and like people are like imagine some people at a table in Europe or whatever playing this game, and they're like, I'm going to move my Cree over here, right? And that's just that whole idea is hilarious to me. But like in the art style, right? It's called Manitoba, and on the cover of it, there's a totem pole, and there's no totem poles in Manitoba, especially around those
Right.
times. And the way that they depict Cree is like all the way that outfits that the people are wearing, they just kind of cherry picked every kind of like most notable trait or cliche of indigenous culture and just like splashed it all together. And one of the mechanics is you're building a totem pole, which is hilarious because that's an aspect of the West Coast indigenous people. And
Right.
so that's like one aspect, and another aspect is like again is I just happen to have behind me Great Western Trail. So if you're just listening to this, I'll say it out loud too. But on the cover of the first edition of Great Western Trail, there's teepees predominantly there. But on the
Oh, right.
second edition of right here,
Yeah.
um, and on the second edition, there's no teepees, no indigenous culture, our indigenous representation, our indigenous iconography. Now, if you're familiar with Great Western Trail, there's a part on the map where you have to move through this place and there's teepees there and you have to like pay a toll or you have to pay something and then the teepee gets removed. However, in the second edition, they're completely removed like the teepees and removed that part, and they replaced it with bandits. They call it bandits, so it's like the same. It's the same function. It just kind of shows where the mental thought was in terms of how they
Right.
chose to represent like native people in that light. And I get it if they're looking at it from a lens of like cowboys and Indians, Western films, and like often the indigenous people are the protagonist, attacking the wagon trail or wagon carts or whatever. So I see kind of where that's coming from, but I always be like being the person at the table, being like, oh, just kind of trying to make people feel guilty or whatever. And
Bring awareness, but for sure, yeah.
yeah, so not like shaming people for it. Like I understand, but part of it is like using that platform to like talk about these things, and I'll be calling that segment like the decolonizing cardboard. and
Mm.
um and we'll also just talk about normal things that you talk about on podcasts, like what games we played or top 10 this or something, because I've always loved doing that. I always
Yeah.
wanted to do that stuff, and I'll have like a platform where I can create that with myself and the other people that I play board games with. So I do play with like other indigenous people. So
Wonderful.
what I want us to do is like pick a game of focus, we'll play through it, and then we'll come to and we'll record and kind of share our thoughts on the perspective, and yeah, that's kind of the First Meeple podcast in a nutshell.
I'm excited for it. So that's great. Now you're also a comedian and a photographer. Like you wear many hats.
That's the ADHD, you know what I mean? You just hyper focus on something, and like I'm just like, oh, shiny thing, I'm going to work on that now. Oh, I'm going to work on this. And like at the core is like building community, right? Board game community is like you know, once you go to a board game event, you'll kind of get to know a lot of people, and that's kind of why I continue doing KefCon. Is I love the community that comes together. You know, there's some people I see like once a year who come specifically to that event, but when you go to like their board game FallCon, you're like, oh hey, right? So I really enjoy that, and so like comedy and photography have their own communities, but like right now, comedy and stand-up is kind of the thing I'm focused on right now, because I want to like create an Indigenous comedy tour, which I call the Must Be Nice comedy tour. So coming soon to a city or municipality near you.
Nice. Wonderful. I'll keep an eye out for that as well. Perfect. So let's get started with showing off your collection. Give us a bit of a tour of what you got going on there. We see a little bit behind you.
All right. So I'm going to give we're going to try this. It's going to be great. So right now I'm just going to get up and I'm going to go over here. And sorry, it's really close to my face, but I want to just show the wide span here. So as you can see, here's the space. It's kind of in process. So here's a shelf here. Oh, there's a shelf there, which has some games, and then there's the fridge. So when I mentioned the Man at Tap House, the fridge is really important part because it's full of drinks, basically non-alcoholic drinks. So if people come over, they can have a soda or whatever. Zero sugar era is kind of what I'm in now, so there's lots of sodas in there. And then we go over here, and then you can kind of, I'm just giving like a quick play through here, and you can see like there's a stack of games. Those are on the sell pile right there. And then we go over here, and then we have these games here, and then we have all my Mythic Battles collection, and then my other table there. And we got some arcade games.
Oh, right, wow. There.
And then there's some more games over there. Like I have another 2 shelves over there. But those are like the really big box, big ticket item games over there. So what should I focus on in terms of what I show?
So first of all, let's talk about your shelves. They look like Calyx. Is that what you use?
That's right. So it's pretty much, it's all Calyxes. And I enjoy Calyxes, especially the 2x4, because you don't you can just move them like that. So I used to have 4x4, and I had a 5x5, like the 5. When we say 2x4 or 4x4 or whatever, it just means how many like slots there are in the unit. Yeah. And so I like the 2x4s because you can move them, whereas the 4x4 you can't. You have to disassemble it to move it. Oh, yeah. And so I have like a hodgepodge of different types. Like I have Calyxes, and I have Expedits, like which are the old version of it.
Yeah.
And so I have like a lot of those. So the way that it is, and you'll see this in a lot of board game rooms, is you'll have like the first layer, which is right here, and then I have like and this one has a 2x4 turned sideways, but then I have like this middle unit right here, which is a 2x4, but on top is just a 2x2 right there. So that helps frame it in the middle there. And so it just depends on the area of what kind of space I have filling in it. And then I also have like a couple other like miscellaneous shelves. Like I have like those big plastic industrial shelves, which are good for stacking like really thick board games. Yeah.
Nice. Perfect. And how do you have them organized? Do you have a system?
So I don't really have a system. Like the main thing is like I have this much space, and I try to fit as many games in them. But like I do have some areas where like if it's like one designer, I'll have like all of those games there. So like up here, for example, right up there, I have my Lacerda shelf right there. So I have some like Lacerda games, but I also have them somewhere else. And then in a lot of the board game A lot of the shelves I have like game front facing, and then behind it I have like some other games behind it. So these are all Devere games. So
Yeah.
behind it I have like a bunch of Devere
Oh, a
games
bunch of the. Okay, nice.
behind that. So it just makes it look a little prettier when you have like a game front facing and then all the other games behind it.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I have like a Simone Luciani, like the Italian duo board game designer. I have like a whole like cubby dedicated to them, which is like Lorenzo Magnifico, Voyage of Marco Polo, Newton, Grand Austria Hotel. So like that's kind of how I have it structured. And the other thing too is like I have like some sections. So like I have like the trilogies of games kind of on display. So I have Pillars of the Earth, World War Without End, and Column of
Nice.
Fire front facing. And then over here I have like that the
The
what is it
South
called?
series.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Wayfarers, Scholars, Inventors, and then over here I have like this other series which started with Merv, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
Sankore, and then AR, which is the most recent one. So I kind of have those games front facing, and then at the top I have Sabika and Minefer, which are like similar box design. So I kind of like to display them like that because it gives like a sense of uniformity or whatever you would
And you
say.
mean they displayed the art? Like there's such beautiful artwork in the board games, and it's always on the lid of the box, so it's nice to be able to see that.
Absolutely. And like I have like one of my favorite games is Zombicide. So I have
Hmm.
like basically a whole calyx dedicated to like the Zombicide series. So I have a lot of Zombicide, tons of so much Zombicide. It's like yeah. Anyways, so that's kind of how I have them organized. Like I don't have them like organized by publisher generally. I like just like by like designers I really like. I'll try to put those games together.
Right.
But generally, it's just like if it fits, it's going in there, right? So I try to optimize the space as much as I can. And in terms of the space, like I have stacks of games which are right here, and those
Yeah.
are those are outgoing games. Those are the games that I'm gonna sell. And so like there's board game flea market. So I'm signed up at a board game flea market later this month in Edmonton. You should come, or whoever is listening, come to that place and come buy some games. So I have a lot of
Yes.
games that are stacked, and then I have like sections in my basement here of where I have, like I said, those big plastic shelves which hold like really thick board games, like really like the big games like Aeon Trespass Odyssey or
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. The big ones.
Yes.
Now you've mentioned your outgoing pile, your selling pile, which I'm impressed because I suck at getting rid of games. Now, how do you manage your collection? Obviously, you don't shy away from getting rid of games.
Yes. So, like for context, like at the last flea market, which was organized, I think I took like 80 games and I ended up selling about 50 of them. So a lot of
Right.
games didn't get sold, but at the same time, you're trying to go with less games than you came with, right? So you'll sell at a discount. And so the big thing is that a lot of games, you have to treat most games as curiosity purchases, or like games that you want to try, and then you feel that okay, this is a game likely we're not going to play again, or it's just okay, and now I'm ready to move on from it. I don't see it hitting the table a lot,
Right.
and so that's kind of what governs like what board games stay. Like at the core we mentioned earlier is like the Euro games, the heavy Euro games, the games that really make my brain melt. Those games are probably staying in my collection. Those are like evergreen games. Whereas some games that are way too complex that like I feel I won't even be able to teach like my casual game group friends, those are gone. Like for example, that a game would be like Arkwright. Arkwright, I used to own it. I played it once, and it's way too complex to teach, let alone for me to be able to wrap my head around managing that game. So
Right.
the often it's a lot of like, here's a curiosity purchase, let's try it, or maybe I never end up playing it, and then I'm just like, well, I've had this game for this long, it's time to move it, somebody else will take it. And that's kind of how I determine like what games I keep. So like just going through like this little game shelf right here, so I'm trying to maintain it. So I have Yokohama, that's the second edition of Yokohama, and I already have the first edition, which is like the deluxeified version of it, which was
Oh,
through
right.
Tasty Minstrel Games. But I prefer the Tasty Minstrel Games version, so I'm selling the second edition. Same thing with Lords of Vegas. I still prefer the first edition of Lords of Vegas from the second one, and so that's why I'm moving the second edition. And then like this other game down here, it's Off Their Walls. That's like a splatter game, and like that game's still in shrink, and I haven't played it in like how many years of owning it. So now it's time to move it on to another
It's
person.
time.
If I haven't played it in that amount of time, that means it's not important enough. It's not interesting enough to have hit the table. Whereas like, for example, Ada's Dream. I recently got Ada's Dream that hit the table immediately, right? So there's a difference there where you get a game and you want to play it really badly, and then you have this curiosity purchase where it's like, I don't know what this is. I'm not sure it's really and because like when I play games, I only play games like once a week. That's it. That's if we end up playing, and we only get through one game, right? So it's like if you have like a large collection, like going through 4 games a month is not a whole lot. So if you're taking more games than you're actually playing through, you're going to be at a deficit, and you're going to end up with these like big stacks like I do. But another hack I have is like at KefCon, I'll give out a bunch of games. So I'll do like door prizes. So like when people come in, I'll just give them a ticket, and then I bring like a stack of 20 games, and I just hand them out like candies.
Nice.
Here you go, congratulations, you won this game. And like they're pretty much all brand new, right? Like maybe they've been played once or twice, whatever. You're still getting a free game. So like you basically got your entry paid for. The way I like to think about it, right? You paid $40 to come to KefCon, and then here you got this game that's probably worth $40. Congratulations, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's kind of how I manage it, and right now I just have a lot of overstock because, like I said, I'm waiting for this flea market, and then I'll be taking them all there, a car full of them, and hopefully I come back with a lot less of them, so that'll free up some of this space.
Nice. And then now we mentioned how often you play. Now this is also your game play area. Is this where you play most often?
That's right. Yeah, like I mostly just host at my house. I think last year I only end up going to other people's houses like twice. I went to Sam's house and I went to Justin's house. Those were only 2 people I went because I'm a homebody, and so I like to stay home. I'm honest about that, and so I like when people come to my house because then I can host them, and I like to curate what games we play. So usually I'll say, okay, this week we're going to play this game, or this week we're going to play this game, and so
you know what. I think that's just a great, because that's how you can get your collection played instead of like, okay, well, I don't know, let's come game night. Okay, what do we play? And then you spend half the time figuring out what we're going to play. And then instead, if you do like, okay, Friday, we're playing this game. Who wants to join? Like, I like that.
Absolutely. And it gives people some time to read through the rules. So like yesterday we played through, what was it called? Puerto Rico, the new edition, like the one that came out, the fancy edition through Awaken. And so a guy who came, he wanted to play that game, and so I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's play that game. And I'm interested in playing that game because that's giving me content for the First Meeple podcast.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And so we had 5 players come there, and we all had a great time. And like I told people what game we're playing, so people watched the videos, and so people were pretty informed. Like we still did the obligatory teach, like because it's a quick teach, and some games are the teach is a lot quicker, especially if you watch the video and you've had time to. Yeah, so that just streamlines the experience. So like people, because nobody wants to sit at the table and you're like reading through the rules unless you sign up for that specifically, right? And it's good to know what you're playing ahead of time, so you can do the work yourself to read through the rules or watch a video or whatever.
No, I love that. And you have lights. I want to point out, because first of all, it looks beautiful and festive, but I'm assuming it's just so you have a nicely lit table for games.
Yes. So like I have 2 kinds of lights. I have like these nice what do you call it, string lights or whatever. And it really creates like a nice dim vibe, which this camera doesn't quite capture, but it's good for like if you're playing like some chill games that don't have like really small text, right? Like a little party game or something like that. And then I have like right above it, you'll see like right there, I have LED light, which is like super strong, and that's, well, I'll turn that on for when we're playing like the big crunchy Euro game. So I have two kinds of lighting that's going on here, because lighting's important, and
Yes.
and it really sets the mood for sure.
Perfect. Any tips you have on organizing your games?
I think the main thing is to anticipate how big you want your collection to be, and kind of stick with that. So you don't count. Yeah, you don't count.
I have set myself no limit.
We started this recording, and she's like, "I bought 3 shelves," just so matter of factly. And it's like, "Yep, okay." And like, I managed to buy 1 shelf, and that's all. I have no more room, no more room.
Yeah.
So I just like, I'm confined to what is in the space, and that's that. It's not going to go anywhere else. So now I'm like, but anyways, tips. I think the first thing is to kind of anticipate what your collection is. So like, my collection is a mixture of 2 things. It's a mixture of area control games, heavy Euro games or medium weight Euro games, and I have like cooperative games. So like Zombicide, I mentioned some like various campaign games, because I have 2 groups. Actually, I have 3 groups. I have the group that I play on Monday, which is like the heavy Euro games. That's the games that those guys like to play and I like to play. And then I have my Tuesday group, which I play with my partner and her friend Lynette, and we play through like Gloomhaven. Like, we've played through Gloomhaven, and we've played through like other, like, basically campaign games. That's the intention of that group. And then my new group is with my kids and like my family. So it's like my partner, my son, and my daughter, and we're just playing through like introduction games, because they're 10 and 14, and it's just a way for us to unify as like a family. Where like recently, the last game we played was like, what's it called? Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll go before that, like Zombicide. We're playing through Zombicide because I got all these games because I anticipated playing them with my kids. And so, like, I'm just showing them like the entry level games, like Ticket to Ride, and seeing how they manage that. The most complex game that they've tried is probably Tend, which is a really cool game. But that's kind of where I'm starting. So I guess I have 3 groups.
Yeah.
And so the third group is kind of like family games, and hopefully we play through them, right? So that's kind of like the know your audience. Don't have games that you're actually going to get to the table. And if you don't get them to the table, get rid of them. And I know that's a tall order coming from me, what you see these stacks of game, but these are outgoing games. And like, if I could sell them and get rid of them and people were buying them, that would be great. But in January and February, nobody's spending money on Facebook Marketplace. Like, nobody's really buying games. Like, there's a lot of people selling games. So try to and I guess for a lot of people, it'll be like they only have so much space. And some people just buy like, they have like, oh, I only keep like 100 games. I only have 25 games or whatever. Oh, and the other aspect if you do have a game group and multiple people have games, all of you don't need a copy. You can just borrow a game from somebody else. So that's kind of like another thing where like,
don't need to have duplicates.
Know that I have this game, or I know that they have that game, so I don't need to have a copy. If I want to borrow it, I'll just borrow it. And like, often I lend my games out. So every Monday when the gentlemen come over, I'm like, you guys want to borrow any games? And they'll be looking at the game. I'm like, hey, take it, right? And so that they can play it. So at least I know it's getting played more than just here, right?
Exactly.
So those are kind of like my tips. And I know it seems like I'm like Smog from The Hobbit. And I'm hoarding all these games, but like they're outgoing, right? And it's a caveat of when you run a board game convention yourself, because I try to supply most of the games that are at the event. But the thing is, after the event, then you don't need them anymore, right? Because I just got them for that event because it's focused on this theme, and then like, hey, now we can move on with them.
Perfect. And any challenges with your game collection?
The challenges is just having the space and and FOMO. I think FOMO is probably one of the biggest things. Even I've been playing games for over 10 years now. There's a lot of games that I want to try to play. Like, I'm looking over here, I have Earthborn Rangers. That game looks really cool. I bought a copy of it, but I haven't played it yet, right? And so that's like an aspiration, but then it just sits there for weeks and weeks before I try to make the opportunity to play it. I think that's like the biggest challenge. Like I acquired this collection of like Company of Heroes because I think that would be a really cool game to play, because it's like a dual game, like 1v1. It's still in the box, and I haven't got to the table yet, but it's just having aspirations versus the reality of what you'll actually get to play. Is it worth keeping this large box of a board game versus like knowing that you're going to play this game, right? And so I think that's the biggest challenge. And space, of course. It's like,
of course,
it's like, oh, there's such good deals. I can buy this game for like $10. I can buy this game for $15 or $20, and then it just gets added to this collection. And I have no space for it, and then your space looks very cluttered or whatever. And I know that's my partner's not keen on that, so I try really hard to keep the space as organized as I can.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Arsan, thank you so much for joining me today and showing us your collection. And I think that's all the questions I had. So thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Bye.